And today I'm thrilled to introduce Karine Sminden. In her 20 years as a published academic author and university lecturer in French studies, Karine has seen firsthand the need to help women conquer self-doubt. After going part-time to raise her 3 children, Karine faced the difficulties so many women do when they seek to return to a full-time career later in life. Now a certified life coach, she specializes in helping women build their confidence so they are ready to rejoin their former career after children, pivot into a new profession, or start their own business with confidence and joy. So Karine, welcome. I can't wait to hear your top tips to boost your confidence. So I am going to turn it right over to you.
Well, thank you, Hélène, and thank you for the opportunity to come into your group to speak to all you wonderful women. Hello, everybody. It's lovely that you've come to join now live, or if you watch the replay as well. So I'm really happy to be speaking today. And yes, I've chosen to focus on self-confidence and helping women build their self-confidence, because it's something that I personally have had to work on over the years. And I think it's something that's confidence particularly is, there's quite a lot of misconceptions perhaps or myths around confidence, and that we see that we sort of think some people are confident as if they were born confident, and others aren't. And often it seems to be couched in terms of other people are confident and I'm really not confident. And it seems so final and impossible to change when we put things like that. But in fact, confidence is much more fluctuating and changing. And I think we all feel confident in certain circumstances and about certain things, and less confident about other things. And if we actually spend a bit of time working on confidence, we can really change things for the better. And so before I delve straight into the tips, I'd like to remind us of some other expressions that are very closely related to confidence. For example, self-image, self-perception, self-worth, self-acceptance, self-respect, self-esteem. They're not all synonymous, but they are linked to self-confidence, and they basically all related to the way we view ourselves and the way we think about ourselves. Okay, so I think it's time, it's a good idea to take a little bit of time at some point and start to think about those different terms, and in relation to us, what is our self-image? How much self-respect do we really have, and sense of self-worth? I think it can also be really a really useful thing to do. But I'm going to move on to my tips about self-confidence, and because it can have such an enormous effect on your life, on the way you feel, your emotions, on the way you behave, and your general well-being, if you feel more self-confident. So it's really well worth having a go at improving that. So the first thing is, do you compare yourself? And by that I mean not just do you compare yourself to other people, for example, do you, and if you do, does it make you feel motivated, inspired, or does it, on the contrary, bring you down? If you're looking at someone and thinking, oh, she does that, or he does that really well, I wonder what I can learn and how I can do that too, then it's perfect, because it will be very motivating, inspiring, and empowering. So there's no problem with that. But I think generally it's not such a positive exercise when we compare ourselves to other people. We tend to come up with a negative assessment of our own abilities or skills or whatever. So if you compare yourself to others and you always sort of come up with a negative assessment or falling short, feel that you're falling short of those comparisons, you're really taking power away from you, and you're also doing something that's completely unproductive, because we know we're unique, we know we're irreplaceable, but if we don't resist this comparison to others, we are actually doing something that's pointless, because their achievements are meaningful, whether they're perceived or real. They're meaningful to them, to their values, to their goals, to their lives, to what they want. They don't necessarily resonate the same with yourself. So I think it's more a question of focusing on what we want, what matters to us. That's important. But that takes me to the second part of this. So, we can also compare ourselves to a sort of ideal image that we have of who we should be or what we should be like. And, that can have come from various sources as we're growing up, perhaps. And again, if it's empowering, if you feel, I'm actually doing really quite well, then that's really good. But a lot of the time it can have, it's the opposite effect, that we're feeling that we haven't quite measured up and so on. So I think we need to change perhaps the way we think about ourselves and the way we speak to ourselves, the way we describe ourselves and our own appearance, our own abilities, because they have an enormous impact on what we'll be able to achieve for ourselves. And this is my second point. Have you thought of how you speak to yourself? Does the language you use when you think of yourself, your identity, your skills, or your achievements, does it empower you, or does it shoot you down? And try to reflect or catch yourself, in the next few days. Say, if you fail at something, or something doesn't come out quite as you were hoping, or you forget something, you miss something, you break an object, what do you say or think to yourself? Oh, how dumb, how stupid of me, or whatever. Or do you do you take responsibility for the bad stuff? And how do you react when something good happens? Do you take responsibility for that too? Say, oh, I've done really well, what a great achievement, well done. Or do you put it down to luck? And I think it's very easy to fall into a trap where we're quite keen to take on responsibility for things that don't quite work out as well as they should, or we're hoping, but put down to luck, chance, or whatever, good fortune, anything that works out well or we succeed in. Okay, so observing again the vocabulary we use when we think of ourselves and our achievements, or things that don't quite happen the way we wanted them to, is also important, and it's important to try and change that. And as a follow on from this, how do you react to challenges? When you feel that something is beyond what you're comfortable doing, out of your comfort zone, as tend to describe it, how do you feel about it? Do you feel that it's something positive, it's exciting, it's a new opportunity, it's your chance to try something out, to try something new, just have a different experience? Or do you see it more as something negative that you should avoid at all costs? You know, do you try to always stay in your comfort zone and doing things that don't challenge you? There's nothing wrong with that, but you know, I think if you if you realize that you tend to shy away from doing new things, trying new things, and it's bothering you, I think changing the way you describe challenges or consider challenges to yourself could have a positive impact on your own attitude and your confidence to tackle new things. So if the you know, your description of challenges is couched in negative terms, try to change it, instead of thinking, oh, I really can't do this or that. Say, you know, I can't do this just yet, or I don't know, I haven't learned to do this, but I can try, I can learn, I can improve, I can get better, and I really love trying out new things. And if you take on new challenges in this way, you're much more likely to have a go at them and then to get better at them and experience success. Now, the fourth tip is to consider a sort of an unhappy outcome, as it were. What if you failed? Yeah. Fear of failure is a massive reason that people will lack confidence in trying something, or just decide not to try something. They might be worried about what other people will think if they fail. They might be worried that they will look stupid, or, you know, just feel embarrassed. And it basically stops them even trying, just because they worry about a possible negative outcome. So, you know, it's I think it's also because, as I said, you know, we can tend to describe confidence or think of confidence as a sort of fixed identity trait, that we're either confident or we're not. But it's also perhaps about success. Success is more, or learning, if you want, is more of a process. And, you know, you have failures and you have another failure, and you learn from it and you change something, and then you fail better. You know, there's this saying, you know, just fail better and better, and then eventually you succeed. And it's all, we should see it more as a process rather than a, you know, a switch on or off. So what if you failed? You know, what would be the worst possible outcome? What would be the worst possible thing that could happen if you fail at something or other? And if you did, what could you do to make it better? How could you improve it? What would be the best possible outcome? Taking this on its head and looking at the other side of it. And, you know, when you start to weigh up the worst possible outcome, if it doesn't work, but then against the best possible outcome, is it worth trying? And considering the things you could improve, the things you could learn, to try again, is it not putting this potential failure into perspective and giving you more incentive, more motivation to have a try? Another thing that is really important to realize is that of all the beliefs that we have about ourselves, so how we describe ourselves, a lot of them, we you know, they might look like statements of facts, but more often than not, they are opinions, and they're opinions that we gleaned or that we've that were formed when we were children, and sometimes very young children. And as children, we obviously don't understand all the ins and outs of situations. We don't have all the tools, but we are trying to make sense of the world, and we're trying to interpret and create meaning about things that we don't understand. And because as children, we're also very self-centered, naturally, we tend to attribute too much to our own self, too much responsibility. So, we can sort of interpret as something negative as being due to us, when actually it's absolutely nothing due to us. And one way that we can change negative beliefs about ourselves is to basically replace them with some more powerful and more positive beliefs. And kind of a very easy one to do, because it doesn't require a lot of introspection, is to just think, I am enough. And it's really incredibly simple and easy. But if you repeat this, I am enough, to yourself, often every day, a few times every day, maybe just when you wake up or when you fall asleep, you can write it, I don't know, on your mirror or on your computer screensaver or whatever, somewhere where you see it regularly. It'll gradually seep into your unconscious and change the way you consider yourself. And that these first 5 tips are things that really work on your inner sense of confidence. And this is the sort of trend in self-development, personal development, and coaching, of working on the inside to have an effect on the outside, so from the inside out. And it's very powerful and effective. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think that in case of confidence, it's also really useful to look at the opposite direction, look at from the outside in. Because, for example, the way you project yourself to others, if you project yourself as confident, people will react differently to you. And you will in turn pick it up. So it will have as an effect to build your own inner self confidence. Okay, so it's kind of a circle that, the more confident you are inside, the more confident you act and project yourself out to others, and then they react in a certain way, and that feeds your inner confidence. But there's no reason why you necessarily have to start from the inner confidence to go out. You can also start working on the outer signs of confidence to boost your inner confidence. Okay, and you can do, you don't even have to necessarily do the full circle all the time that way. You can work a bit on the outside confidence and a bit on the inside, and this will feed onto itself. So I think it's really quite powerful to mix and match in a sense, because it creates sort of compound effect on you. So the next little tips are about projecting a more or becoming more aware of how we project ourselves to others and how confident we look. So, for example, how aware are you of the effect of your posture? I mean, we've all heard that we should sit up straight because it's more empowering and it's better for your back as well, incidentally. But that's a lot of the time we forget about it, and we might not think about it in all sorts all different types of positions or situations. Just try to visualize, if you have to do something you're not comfortable with, try to see how you look from the outside, and if there's a little tweak you can do, in the way you hold yourself that will have as an effect to show you as more confident, because other people will pick up on that. Okay, so yes, it can be sitting up straight, pushing your shoulders down, but also the way you look at people. And if you hold their gaze, or if you're speaking to a group of people, if you make eye contact and go from one person to another, it will have an effect on how they perceive you. The trick here is to focus maybe on one thing or two, and to try and become aware of them and go back and tweak them regularly until they become more inbuilt, as it were, sort of ingrained, and you don't have to think about it. The other little tip is about how the words you use have an effect, how they inspire confidence in others, how they show your power and authority. So, or on the contrary, do they undermine your own expertise, your own authority and confidence? So, for example, that's perhaps something that's a bit more of a British problem. But, we were sort of taught to be very apologetic as a sign of good manners and politeness. And it can become really overdone and so automatic that we don't necessarily realize that we're apologizing all the time for things that we have nothing to apologize for. But words, there's more subtle words that can undermine what you say by, if you add just, I'd just like to know, it really minimizes your request. Whereas if you say, I'd like to know, it's not aggressive, it's not impolite, but it's more assertive, and you will come across as more confident. And similarly, what is your intonation like? What is your tone of voice? Do you sound all hesitant and like you leave your sentences in the middle and raise your voice at the end because you're sort of expecting a response to an acknowledgement or validation? Or do you speak in shorter sentences perhaps and close off what you say by lowering your intonation at the end of the sentence? These are quite small things, but they have a really strong impact on how people perceive us, and I think also how we feel when we're expressing ourselves. I think these are things that we do also pick up. Are you aware of the effect of the clothes you wear? And yes, we've all heard about power suits and things like that, but they're not necessarily suitable for you and your lifestyle and your realm of activity. So it's no use taking a sort of ready-made, confident look that doesn't resonate with you. Again, this is like comparing yourself to others. What is significant and meaningful to them might not be for you, but it's more feeling how how confident the outfits you have, the look you cultivate makes you feel yourself. Okay, so that's another thing you can tweak quite easily, and that can be very powerful. And my last thing, and I'll finish there because I don't want to drag on and on, is be kinder to yourself. The way you talk to yourself, the inner language you use to describe yourself, and does it encourage you? Do you recognize celebrate your achievements? Do you show kindness to yourself? Because at the end of the day, you need to remember that you're the only person that you will have to spend the rest of your life with. day in, day out, and a bit more love, a bit more acceptance will make really great company. So thank you very much.
Wow. That was great. Thank you so much, Karine. There's so much there. I took a few notes because I wanted to kind of circle back to some of the things you said because they were so powerful. I love the idea, for example, of coming at yourself through the lens of curiosity, right? And instead of comparing yourself to others in a negative way, when you look at yourself and then you look at others, to be curious about, oh, I really like what she did or how she carries herself. And what's that about? As opposed to, oh God, she's so much, better put together and well-spoken than I am. So I don't know, that was the first thing from your first tip that I thought was really powerful. We are so hard on ourselves, right? We are so judgmental of ourselves, which, that last piece you talked about being kind to yourself, we are the worst. We're so critical of ourselves, that little voice inside that keeps judging us. So that was really strong for me. The other piece was the comparing yourself to an ideal, and that's where our perfectionism gets triggered. It's just not possible. There's just, that ideal is not humanly possible. So why go there? And it makes you not appealing, I think, in a way to even try to be such an ideal, because then you're hiding part of yourself, because we're all human and we're all fallible and we're, all have our struggles.
Yeah, that's very true, actually.
Yeah. And then something else that when you were talking about getting out of your comfort zone and the learning frame, that made me think of Carol Dweck's work on growth versus fixed mindset, which, she is so powerful about how are you looking at your life and what is your mindset? Is your mind set the one where everything is the way it is and I can't change anything and I'm so powerless, versus I can learn, I can grow, I can, rise up from whatever struggle I'm in. I'm sure you're familiar with her work, but that just sounded so pertinent to me. And then, I love the I am enough. I put that in the comments. The fact that just the I am enough is such a great mantra. And so, such an easy thing to say when you maybe can't come up with a more empowering way of thinking about something, just breaking it down to, I think it kind of works in every situation, right?
Yeah. It comes from Marisa Peer. She talks a lot about that. She's sort of hypnotherapist, and I think it's powerful because it's simple and it can apply to anybody, everybody, at all times. You don't have to spend a long time introspecting and analyzing. It's just useful.
And then the last piece that really resonated with me was around how you're showing up and what you're projecting out in the world, in terms of your posture, eye contact, all of that. And it all comes down to me for, you're showing others, but also yourself, who you are, through the way you're showing up, through how you're talking about yourself and thinking about yourself, and how your posture, are you like this, or and your intonation, do you have that little voice, or that that question voice like you were talking about? So I think there's so much there in terms of just being aware. I mean, I guess it all starts with awareness, and just being aware of how you're showing up, what you're projecting, even just being aware of the voice inside that's talking shit to yourself. Like, it's just a way to start just with awareness. So all of that was, there's just, I'm sure we could go on and on, but there was just so much there. And I really appreciate your wonderful tips. And we had some women join us also. I wanted to give a shout out to Madeline and Janelle, and Alicia, who showed up, and everybody had some good comments. I think a lot of what you were talking about really resonated, and how hard we are on ourselves, Janelle is saying. And let's see, I'm trying to see what the other comments are. Yeah, and just the whole, I am good enough is felt very powerful to people. And I had commented in there about how soul sucking that voice inside is. And I think that was something that resonated with people too. So yeah, a lot of this I think is really going to resonate with the viewers and already has. So I so appreciate you sharing that today, all of your insights. And I also would love to let our viewers know that you have a gift for everybody, just to add on to this wonderful talk. You've got a free gift. I think it's called Boost Your Confidence booklet, but why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so basically, you know, most of what I've been talking about today comes from this booklet that I wrote about 10 ways to boost your confidence. So it just describes a bit, it goes into a bit more detail about the various points that I've explored. And at first it describes a bit more about self-confidence, what it is, and how to think about it and work on it. It has a few spaces to do some exercises and introspection. So it's a really useful resource, and yeah, I'm happy to offer it for download so that it supports and summarizes what I've covered today and goes in a bit more depth on some aspects.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. That's so generous of you. We really appreciate it. I know everyone will go and grab that. I'll be putting the link to that to Karine's booklet in the comments. So please check that out. And I really want to thank everybody for joining us today. And a special thanks to Karine for sharing your wonderful tips to boost our confidence. Don't forget to check out the link for her offer. And if you enjoy our Women on a Mission live videos, please you know, to always take a look at the schedule of upcoming lives. And there's one on Friday as well. And you know, when you say you're going to be going to an event, when I put it up, it'll also, Facebook will notify you when the next event is. So I'm actually trying to do now a couple of weeks. So hope to see you all again. And Karine, thank you again for your generous gift and for showing up with all your wisdom today.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure. And I look forward to tuning into the other lives.
Thank you, Karine.